The darkness was broken by red and blue flashes as 28-year-old Leila Green stood outside her old sedan, her hands shaking in the air. 3 officers surrounded her, taunting her. "What else are you hiding, beautiful?" Her heart was pounding. She hadn't broken any laws, but she felt like a criminal. A moment later, an engine roared to life as Leila's husband, Police Captain Jason, jumped out of the car, ordering, "Get away from my wife." But how did it come to this? Let's go back 12 hours. The Seattle sky hung heavy with gray clouds, the kind of damp morning that clung to your skin and whispered of rain yet to fall. Leila Green, 28, stood outside the weathered brick building of the Beacon of Hope Community Center, her dark curls pulled back in a loose bun, her hazel eyes sharp with focus. She wore a faded denim jacket over a simple dress, the kind of outfit that said she was more about getting things done than looking the part. Around her, volunteers bustled, loading boxes of books, school supplies, and canned goods into a beat-up van. The air buzzed with purpose. This was the tail end of a fundraiser she'd spent months planning, a lifeline for kids from the city's roughest neighborhoods. Today, it had paid off. Thousands raised, smiles everywhere, a rare flicker of hope in a world that often felt stacked against them. Leila's phone buzzed in her pocket. She fished it out, a small grin tugging at her lips as she saw the name. Jason Green, her husband. "Hey, babe." His voice crackled through, warm but tired. At 32, Jason was a newly minted police captain, his days swallowed by precinct chaos since the promotion. "Sorry I missed the event. Work's a mess. Another double shift. Dinner's on me tonight, promise." Leila chuckled, shaking her head. "You owe me more than dinner, Captain. The kids were asking for you." She could hear the groan in his laugh. "I'll make it up to them. Be home by 9. Love you, drive safe." The call clicked off, and Leila slipped the phone back into her pocket, her smile lingering. Jason was her rock, even if his badge kept him away more than she'd like. By 8:30 p.m., the center was quiet. The last volunteer waved goodbye, and Leila locked the front door, the jangle of keys echoing in the stillness. She climbed in her old blue sedan, the engine coughing to life with a familiar sputter. The route home was second nature, 30 minutes through the sleepy suburbs of West Seattle, past tidy lawns and flickering porch lights. Street lamps cast long shadows, and the occasional bark of a dog broke the hush. It was the kind of neighborhood where nothing much happened, where safety felt like a given. Leila turned on the radio, letting soft jazz fill the car as she merged onto the quiet road leading out of the city center. But something nagged at her. A glance in the rearview mirror caught a pair of headlights trailing a little too close. She frowned, adjusting the mirror. A police cruiser, dark and unmarked except for the faint outline of a badge on the hood, kept pace behind her. No sirens, no lights, just following. "Probably heading the same way," she muttered, brushing off the unease creeping up her spine. She signaled and switched lanes, testing it. The cruiser followed suit, smooth and deliberate. Her fingers tightened on the wheel. She checked her speed, 28 in a 35 zone. No phone in hand, no rules broken. Everything by the book. The road stretched darker now, the streetlights thinning out as she neared the edge of the suburbs. The cruiser stayed glued to her tail, block after block, turn after turn. Leila's pulse quickened, a cold sweat prickling her neck. She'd heard the stories. Friends pulled over for no reason, questioned, humiliated. Driving while black, they'd called it, half joking, half bitter. But this was her street, her safe haven. She forced a deep breath, willing herself to stay calm. "Just a coincidence," she whispered, though the words felt hollow. Then, at a stop sign, it happened. Red and blue lights erupted behind her, sharp and blinding, painting the inside of her sedan in jagged streaks. The siren gave a short, piercing wail before cutting off, leaving only the thrum of her heartbeat in her ears. Leila's stomach dropped. She eased the car to the curb, hands trembling as she shifted into park. In the mirror, a figure stepped out of the cruiser, tall, broad-shouldered, his hand resting on his holster. Officer Kyle Jensen, his badge glinted under the streetlight, his face a mask of cold authority. Leila rolled down her window, forcing a polite smile despite the dread pooling in her chest. "Good evening, officer," she said, voice steady. "Is there a problem?" Jensen didn't smile back. "License and registration," he snapped, his tone clipped and icy. Leila blinked, reaching slowly for the glove box, her parents' old warnings echoing in her mind. "Move slow. Keep your hands visible. Don't give them a reason." She handed over the papers, her fingers brushing the edge of her fundraiser badge still pinned to her jacket. "Can I ask why I'm being stopped?" she ventured, keeping her tone even. Jensen's eyes flicked to her license, then back to her, a smirk curling his lips. "Suspicious activity in the area. Your car fits the description." Leila's breath hitched. Suspicious? In a beat-up sedan, wearing a dress from a charity event, driving home to her husband? The absurdity stung, but she swallowed it down. "There must be a mistake," she said carefully. "I just left the Beacon of Hope Center." Jensen's smirk widened, his voice dripping with mockery. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." Her grip on the wheel tightened. "Excuse me," she said louder now. "I've done nothing wrong." He leaned closer, his shadow swallowing the light. "I said step out. Now." And just like that, the ordinary day shattered. The red and blue lights pulsed against Leila Green's sedan like a heartbeat gone wild, each flash slicing through the quiet Seattle night. She sat frozen, hands locked on the steering wheel, the cold air from the open window seeping into her bones. Officer Kyle Jensen loomed outside, his silhouette sharp against the cruiser's glare, his hand still resting on his holster as if daring her to move wrong. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am," he repeated, his voice a low growl wrapped in authority. Leila's chest tightened, her mind racing. She hadn't sped, hadn't swerved, nothing to justify this. Yet here she was, pinned under his gaze like prey. "I've done nothing wrong," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Am I being detained?" Jensen's smirk twisted into something uglier, his pale eyes glinting with disdain. "You don't get to ask questions. Out. Now." Leila's breath hitched. Years of warnings from her parents, stay calm, don't argue, survive, flooded back, but so did a spark of defiance. She unbuckled her seatbelt slowly, deliberately, keeping her hands visible. "I'm complying," she said, stepping onto the pavement, her fundraiser dress catching the faint breeze. The asphalt felt gritty under her flats, grounding her as the night turned hostile. Jensen didn't waste time. "Hands where I can see," he barked, circling her like a vulture. Before she could respond, another cruiser rolled up, its tires crunching gravel. Two more officers emerged. Officer Dan Holt, older, grizzled, with a permanent scowl, and a younger cop, Officer Tim Bryce, twitchy and eager, his flashlight already cutting through the dark. 3 against 1. Leila's stomach knotted. This wasn't a routine stop. It was a show. "What's this about?" she asked, forcing calm into her words. Jensen ignored her, nodding to Bryce. "Check the car." Bryce popped the trunk without a word, and Leila's jaw dropped as he started tossing her things. Boxes of fundraiser flyers, a bag of leftover decorations, onto the pavement. "Hey," she snapped, taking a step forward. "You can't search my car without consent or cause." Holt chuckled, a dry, grating sound. "Suspicious vehicle in a high-crime area. That's cause enough, sweetheart." High crime? This was West Seattle, a sleepy suburb where the biggest scandal was a missing garden gnome. Leila's blood boiled, but she bit her tongue. Escalation wasn't an option. Not yet. Jensen hovered closer, his breath sour with coffee. "What else you hiding, huh?" His tone dripped with mockery, his hand twitching near his taser. Leila's heart slammed against her ribs. She glanced at her phone, still in the cup holder, Jordan's name glowing on the screen from a missed call. "Can I call my husband?" she asked, voice tight. Jensen laughed, sharp and cruel. "Not unless you want a night in lockup. Go ahead, test me." Leila swallowed hard, her fingers itching to grab the phone. She wasn't just some random target. Jordan was a police captain. They didn't know who they were messing with. She edged toward the car, slow and deliberate. "I'm getting my phone," she said, hands raised. Jensen's hand shot to his taser, his smirk fading. "Move fast, and you'll regret it." Layla's pulse roared in her ears as she snatched the phone, dialing Jordan with shaking fingers. The line rang once, twice, then his voice, sharp and urgent. "Layla, you okay?" She didn't waste breath on pleasantries. "Jordan, I'm pulled over on Pine and 23rd. They're searching my car. No reason, no consent. I need you here." Silence, then a low curse. "Stay calm. I'm 5 minutes out. Don't hang up." The call stayed live, a lifeline in her pocket, as Jensen barked at Bryce. "Anything." Bryce held up a stack of literacy flyers like they were contraband. "Just this junk, charity stuff." Holt snorted. "They always got an angle, don't they?" "They." The word landed like a slap, raw and deliberate. Layla's fists clenched, nails digging into her palms. She wasn't a person to them, just a stereotype, a target. "That's for kids," she said, voice trembling with fury. "You're serious right now?" Jensen's grin widened. "Run her plates. Let's see what pops." Bryce radioed dispatch while Holt kept his flashlight trained on her, the beam blinding. Layla stood tall, arms crossed, refusing to shrink. Every passing car slowed, drivers gawking, but not stopping. No one ever did. The radio crackled back. Clean plates, no warrants. Jensen's jaw twitched, disappointment flickering in his eyes. "Doesn't mean she's clean," he muttered. "Keep looking." Layla's patience snapped. "This is harassment. You've got nothing on me." Holt stepped closer, his shadow swallowing hers. "Attitude like that, that's plenty." The air thickened with menace, the officers' hands hovering near their belts. Layla's mind spun. Every move a risk, every word a potential spark. She wasn't resisting, wasn't fighting, but they didn't care. This was power, flexing its muscle to remind her of her place. Then a low growl cut through the night. An engine, fast and furious. Tires screeched as a black SUV skidded to a halt, its door flying open. Jordan Green stepped out, his captain's badge gleaming under the streetlight, his broad frame radiating fury. His dark eyes locked on Layla first, relief flashing, then hardened as they swept to Jensen. "Drop everything," Jordan commanded, his voice ablaze. "Step away from my wife. Now." The officers froze, Jensen's smirk faltering for the first time. Holt's scowl deepened, but he didn't move. Bryce's flashlight wavered, dipping to the ground. The scene stilled, a standoff under the pulsing lights. Jordan took a step forward, his presence a wall between Layla and the trio. "Somebody better explain why my wife's being treated like a suspect," he said, each word laced with steel. Jensen squared his shoulders, bravado cracking. "Captain Green, sir." Routine stop. Suspicious vehicle matching a report. Jordan's gaze flicked to the scattered flyers, the open trunk, Layla's trembling hands. "Suspicious?" he echoed, voice low and dangerous. "A woman in a dress, driving home from charity event? That's your story." Jensen opened his mouth, but no words came. Jordan didn't blink. "Call your supervisor. This ends here." Layla exhaled, her knees weak, but her chin high. Jordan was here, but the fight was just beginning. The Seattle night swallowed the echoes of Jordan Green's command as he stood between Layla and the three officers, his badge a silent challenge under the flickering streetlights. Officer Kyle Jensen's smirk had vanished, replaced by a tight-lipped scowl, but he didn't back down. "Lieutenant's on his way." "Captain," he muttered, stepping back with a grudging nod to Officer Bryce, who fumbled to gather Layla's scattered belongings. Jordan's eyes never left Jensen, his voice low and lethal. "Pack it up. You're done here." Layla stood behind him, her breath shaky, but her resolve ironclad, the red marks on her wrist from the near cuffing still raw. Minutes later, Lieutenant Edward Crow arrived, his stocky frame emerging from a patrol car with the air of a man who'd weathered storms and bent them to his will. His graying hair caught the light, but his eyes were cold, calculating. "Captain Green," he drawled, his tone laced with false civility. "Didn't expect to see you playing knight in shining armor tonight." Jordan's jaw tightened. "Didn't expect your officers to harass my wife for no reason." "Explain this." Crow glanced at Layla, then at the mess around her sedan, his lips thinning. "Suspicious vehicle report. Standard procedure." Bullshit, Jordan snapped. No consent, no probable cause, illegal search and intimidation. I want badge numbers and footage by morning. Crow's smile was thin, brittle. Let's not blow this out of proportion, Captain. Technical glitch with the cams. Happens all the time. Your wife's free to go. Leila's fists clenched, but Jordan held Crow's gaze until the older man looked away. This isn't over, Jordan said, guiding Leila to their SUV. As they drove off, she glimpsed Jensen in the rearview mirror, his stance rigid, eyes burning with something darker than anger. The next morning, Jordan filed a formal complaint with Internal Affairs, detailing the stop, the search, and the officer's conduct. Leila watched him type, her coffee untouched on the kitchen table. They'll bury it, she murmured. They always do. Jordan's fingers paused. Not this time. I've got rank. They can't ignore Captain. But doubt gnawed at her. By noon, the retaliation began, subtle at first, like a predator circling its prey. A parking ticket appeared on Leila's windshield outside the Beacon of Hope Center, despite her spot being legal. She tore it off, chalking it up to a mistake. Then another came the next day, expired tags, though hers were valid. That evening, as Leila locked up the center, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She answered, heart thudding. A distorted voice rasped, "Tell your husband to back off, or you'll both regret it." The line went dead. She stumbled to her car, hands trembling, and called Jordan. "They're threatening us," she said, voice cracking. He was silent, then firm. "Stay put. I'm coming." When he arrived, his face was stone, but his eyes blazed. "They're testing us," he said, checking the center's security feed. Nothing. No trace of the caller. 2 nights later, the stakes spiked. Leila pulled into their driveway after a late shift, her headlights catching a glint on the pavement. She stepped out, frowning. All 4 tires on her sedan were slashed, the rubber sagging like wounded flesh. A chill ran through her. She grabbed her phone, pulling up the home security app. The front door camera flickered. 2 figures in dark hoodies stood on the porch, one clutching a spray can, the other a lighter. "Jordan!" she shouted, dialing him as she backed away. "Someone's at the house now." "I'm 10 minutes out. Get to the center. Lock yourself in," he barked, the roar of his engine already in the background. Leila sped off, her pulse hammering as she locked the center doors behind her. She replayed the feed. The vandals had scrawled "snitch" across the door in red paint, the lighter flickering inches from the welcome mat before they vanished into the night. She called 911, her voice shaking. "They're trying to burn my house down." The dispatcher's reply was maddeningly calm. "Units are busy, ma'am. We'll send someone when we can." Jordan arrived at home first, finding the smoldering mat and the graffiti. His fists clenched, knuckles white. When Leila joined him, safe but rattled, he pulled her close. "They're not stopping," she whispered. "This is bigger than Jensen." Jordan nodded, his mind racing. He called Sergeant Mia Torres, a trusted ally at the precinct. "Dig into Crow," he said. "He's behind this. I feel it." Torres hesitated. "You're poking a bear, Captain. Crow's got friends in high places." Jordan's voice hardened. "Then we need proof." The next day, Leila found a note in their mailbox. No stamp, just a folded sheet. She opened it, her stomach dropping. "Shut up or pay the price." She showed Jordan, who slammed it on the table. "They think they can scare us silent." Torres called that afternoon, her voice low. "Crow's dirty. Dispatch logs show he flagged your house for surveillance after the complaint. But there's more. Someone's covering for him. Someone higher." Leila's breath caught. "Higher than a lieutenant." Torres didn't answer, but the silence was deafening. That night, as they sat in their living room, the weight of it sank in. Jordan stared at the note, his jaw tight. "They're not just rogue cops. They're a machine, and we're in its crosshairs." Leila gripped his hand, her voice fierce despite the fear. "Then we fight the machine. Together." A shadow moved outside. A car idling across the street. Lights off. Jordan stood, peering through the blinds. "They're watching us," he muttered. Leila's phone buzzed again, another unknown number. She didn't answer, but the message popped up. Last warning. The system wasn't just pushing back, it was closing in, and the real battle was about to begin. The Seattle rain drummed against the roof of the Greens' modest home, a steady rhythm that did little to drown out the tension coiling inside. Leila sat at the kitchen table, her phone screen glowing with the latest threat. Last warning. The words stared back at her, cold and final. Across from her, Jordan paced, his broad shoulders hunched with restless energy. The slashed tires, the graffiti, the anonymous calls. They'd expected pushback, but this was a siege. Crow's not acting alone, Jordan muttered, rubbing a hand over his stubbled jaw. Someone's feeding him intel. Leila's stomach twisted. From where? The answer came too soon. Sergeant Mia Torres called, her voice hushed and urgent. Captain, I've got something. You're not going to like it. Meet me at the old diner on 45th alone. Jordan grabbed his keys, his face darkening. Stay here, he told Leila, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Lock everything. She nodded, though her hands trembled as she bolted the door behind him. The house felt too quiet, the shadows too deep. She pulled up the security app. Nothing moved outside, but the stillness only sharpened her unease. At the diner, a rundown joint with flickering neon and cracked vinyl booths, Jordan slid in across from Torres. She looked worn, dark circles under her eyes, a manila folder clutched in her hands. It's Ryan, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Jordan froze. Ryan Collins, his best friend, his brother-in-arms, the detective who'd stood by him through every precinct storm. No, Jordan said, shaking his head. Not Ryan. Torres slid the folder over. Dispatch logs, email trails. He's been leaking your moves to Crow. Schedules, complaints, even your home address. Jordan flipped through the pages, each line a knife twist. Ryan's department login, timestamps matching their meetings, details only he could have known. Why? Jordan growled, his voice raw. Torres sighed. Crow's got leverage. Threatened his career, his kids' tuition. Ryan folded. Fury surged, but beneath it, betrayal stung deeper. He'd trusted Ryan with his life, with Leila's. Where is he? Jordan demanded. Torres hesitated. On duty, precinct. Be careful, he's not alone in this. Jordan didn't wait. He drove straight to the precinct, spotting Ryan's beat-up sedan in the lot. He texted Leila, stay sharp, trouble's close. She replied instantly, I'm fine. Get answers. Inside, the precinct hummed with late-shift chatter, but Jordan's focus was singular. He found Ryan in the break room, sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. Hey, man, Ryan greeted, his smile faltering as Jordan loomed closer. We need to talk, Jordan said, voice deadly calm. Outside, in the alley behind the precinct, rain slicked and shadowed. Jordan shoved the folder into Ryan's chest. Explain this. Ryan's face paled, his hands shaking as he scanned the evidence. Jordan, listen, you sold us out. Jordan roared, grabbing Ryan's collar and slamming him against the brick wall. Crow's got my house tag, my wife threatened. Because of you. Ryan didn't fight back, his eyes pleading. They cornered me, man. Crow said I'd lose everything. My job, my family. I didn't give him all of it, I swear. Swear. Jordan spat, releasing him with a shove. You gave them enough to bury us. Ryan slumped, rain streaking his face. I messed up, but I can fix it. Crow's not the top. Assistant Chief Barrett's pulling strings, keeping this quiet. He's got files, locked in his office, proof of everything. Jordan's breath caught. Barrett, smooth-talking, untouchable, the man who'd pinned his captain's badge with a grin. You expect me to trust you now? He asked, voice ice. Ryan shook his head. No, just use it. Take him down. Jordan stormed off, the rain soaking through his jacket, his mind a war zone. Back home, Leila waited, her eyes wide as he recounted it all. Ryan, she whispered, disbelief cracking her voice. After everything? Jordan nodded, tossing the folder on the table. He's desperate. Gave us Barrett to save himself. Leila's jaw tightened. Then we use it. All of it. She grabbed her phone, dialing Sara Wong, the journalist who'd been their lifeline. Sara, we've got a bombshell. Crow's a puppet. Barrett's the mastermind. Can you break it tonight? Sarah's voice crackled with energy. Send me everything. Names, dates, files. I'll have it on air in 2 hours. Leila copied the evidence: Torres' logs, Ryan's confession, the threats, while Jordan uploaded backups to a secure drive. They weren't taking chances. At 11 p.m., the broadcast hit. Seattle PD rocked by corruption. Whistleblower family targets top brass. Sara's narration laid it bare. Crow's orders, Barrett's cover-up, the Greens' fight. The screen flashed Leila's slashed tires, the snitch graffiti, the note in their mailbox. The city erupted. Social media blazed with hashtag Justice for Leila. Protesters swarmed the precinct, signs screaming "End the blue wall." Jordan's phone buzzed. Torres again. IA's raiding Barrett's office at dawn. Crow's cracking, naming names. You did it. Leila gripped Jordan's hand, her eyes fierce. Not yet. They'll hit back harder now. Outside, a car engine rumbled too close. Jordan peered through the blinds. A black SUV idled across the street, lights off. They're here, he muttered. Leila's phone lit up, another text. You'll pay. The truth was out, but the war was far from won. The Seattle dawn broke gray and heavy, rain streaking the windows of the Greens' home as Leila and Jordan sat on edge, the black SUV's rumble still echoing in their minds. The latest text, "You'll pay," glowed on Leila's phone, a taunt that hung like smoke in the air. Jordan's jaw was set, his eyes scanning the street through the blinds. They're desperate, he muttered. Barrett's cornered, and desperate men don't go quiet. Leila nodded, her fingers tracing the edge of the table. We've got the truth out. Now we survive it. Sara Wong's broadcast had lit a fuse. By morning, the city was ablaze with outrage. Protesters clogged downtown, their signs sharp with fury. Justice for Leila. No more blue lies. Jordan's phone buzzed relentlessly. Sergeant Mia Torres, her voice clipped. I hit Barrett's office at 5 a.m. They've got files, orders to target you, falsified reports, the works. Crows singing, pinning it all on Barrett. Arrests are coming. Leila exhaled, relief warring with dread. And us. Torres paused. Stay low. They're still watching. The day crawled with tension. Leila refused to hide, heading to the Beacon of Hope Center to rally volunteers. The slashed tires and graffiti were scars, but the kids' laughter filtering back into the halls was a balm. Jordan stayed home, poring over backups of their evidence, ready to counter any move. At noon, 2 officers knocked. Uniforms crisp, faces stiff. Captain Green, we've got a warrant, the older one said, shoving a paper through the crack. Suspicion of evidence tampering. Jordan's blood ran cold, but he smirked, phone already recording. Barrett's last gasp, huh? You know he's done. Check the news. The younger cop faltered, eyes darting. Sir, we're just following orders? Jordan cut in. Those orders will sink you when IA's done. Walk away. The older one cursed, but they retreated, tires squealing as they peeled off. Jordan called Torres. They tried a raid, bogus warrant. Barrett's flailing. Torres' voice tightened. He's in cuffs now. It's over. By evening, the headlines screamed victory. Assistant Chief Barrett arrested in corruption sting. Captain's family vindicated. Crow, Jensen, and Ryan Collins faced charges: abuse of power, harassment, conspiracy. Ryan's betrayal stung deepest, but his tip had cracked the case wide open. The precinct suspended them, badges stripped, their careers ash. The mayor, cornered by public fury, launched a review of police misconduct, promising reform. Jordan watched the press conference, arms crossed. Promises, he muttered. We'll see. Leila came home, exhaustion etched in her face, but fire in her eyes. The center's back. Kids showed up, volunteers too. We're rebuilding. Jordan pulled her close, the weight of their fight settling. They try to break us, he said. Almost did. She shook her head. Almost isn't enough. That night, they made a choice. Jordan resigned his captaincy, trading the badge for freedom. Together, they founded the Light of Justice Fund, a lifeline for victims of police overreach, turning their scars into strength. Weeks later, the center hummed with life. New windows gleamed, the graffiti scrubbed clean, replaced by a mural of hands reaching up, hope in paint. Leila stood outside, watching kids stream in, their chatter a quiet triumph. Jordan joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. "We won," he said, voice soft. Leila leaned into him, her gaze steady. "We survived. Winning's making sure no one else goes through this." Her phone buzzed. A thank you email from a teen's mom, freed from a false charge thanks to their fight. "You gave us a voice," it read. Leila smiled faintly. That's the start. The threats faded, though whispers lingered. Rogue holdouts, bitter and silent. Jordan and Leila didn't flinch. They spoke at rallies, lobbied for oversight, built a network of allies. The system hadn't crumbled, but it cracked, and they'd widened that fracture. One evening, locking up the center, Leila paused under the streetlights, the rain a gentle mist now. "Think it's really over?" she asked. Jordan's eyes traced the horizon. "For them, yeah. For us, it's just begun." They walked home, silhouettes against the glow, not just survivors but fighters. The cost had been steep, trust shattered, peace stolen, but the gain was greater. A spark of change, a legacy of courage. The city watched, and so did the nation, a question humming in the air. Who'd stand next?